Hi, if you're looking for a sales trainer to help your sales team increase their overall performance and sales success, I'd like to share with you why I believe you should consider working with me, and let me explain to you a little bit more about my program. Now, first, I have to acknowledge there's a lot of good sales training organizations that are out there. David Sandler, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Dale Carnegie. But the thing about all four of those that I just mentioned have something in common. They're no longer with us. When they wrote their books and when they created their sales training programs, this was in an age really before the internet even existed. Would you agree that times have changed? The way buyers buy has changed. The way they gather information now has changed. Where before, the prospective buyer, the customer, had to have a relationship with the salesperson because the salesperson had something they wanted, which was information about the product or the service that they sell, because they're experts in that. But now all that information is so readily available that salespeople have to work much harder to find relevance, to build value in the relationship with the buyers, the prospective buyers that they want to meet with. So times have changed. I also have a selling system. My selling system has been tried by me for over 20 years, and then it's been modernized because it's constantly evolving as I'm learning new and more successful ways to implement this selling system. So the core of the selling system stays the same step by step, but the tactical aspects of it and how it's applied when you're face to face with a buyer or when you're trying to get an appointment with them, that part changes. So let me just give you 5 of the main reasons why you should consider working with me. And number 1, we're going to say, is the custom factor. All right. So my sales training is very customized to your company. So my selling system, me digging in deep with you about your sales team challenges, about your industry, who your target customers are, what are their main objections, what are their choices to buy from you or to buy from your competitor? Or is it something that you're providing, like let's say it's a payroll service and they can just keep doing it with an internal person, or they can hire your company. Let's say it's equipment in their factory or in their production. It's going to make their production faster and better quality and more profitable and so forth, or they just keep limping along with the old machinery they have. Whatever it is, I want to learn all these things so that when I work with your sales team, I know exactly the challenges they're facing, the objections they're getting from the field, from the people they're meeting with, and I want to be able to apply then my system to those challenges and those issues that they're facing. When you work with a franchised sales organization, typically what happens is they're taking their system and they're just shoving it down the throats of your salespeople and not really taking into consideration what your salespeople are up against, and not really taking the time to learn your organization, your industry, your sales team, the individuals of your sales team, and all that. So when I'm hired by you as my customer, I feel like you're a partner with me, and I want to really dig in as if I'm an employee in your organization now, to work closely. It's a deep dive intensive, I call it. I don't have time to get into it in this video, but if I've piqued your interest enough, ask me what all is involved in that, and I'll send you a several page document that shows an overview of all that. So that's number 1. Number 2, why you should consider working with me, and why I can say with confidence that I can help your sales team increase their performance, is the credibility factor. All right. This is so important when you're delivering sales training to your salespeople. The credibility factor is so important. And let me show you what the opposite of that looks like. The opposite of that looks like franchise organizations, like I mentioned, and you have a sales trainer that's providing sales training, and the reality is they don't do any selling themselves. Remember the saying that those who can't do, teach? So what they're doing is they've paid money for a franchise, and then the franchise parent, the franchisor, is sending the franchisee leads because they spend so much in marketing on a national level that of course they're getting leads from their area, and those leads then they're converting at a high rate usually. But the reality is when it comes to cold calling and prospecting, they're very weak, and they don't do a lot of that in my experience. Now, for myself, I'll toot my own horn here and let me tell you a little bit more about myself. Besides the sales training side of my business, on the other side of my business, I am a manufacturer sales rep agency. I'm the owner of a Castle Trade Agency LLC. And as a manufacturer's rep, I represent factories that are trying to get their products into some of the biggest retailers in the country, like Walmart, like Target, like Costco. And so I'm meeting with the buyers, or I'm trying to get meetings on the phone first to get them to agree to a meeting face to face. And these buyers have been doing this a long time. They're very sharp people, very good at what they do too. So because I work in that field and I walk that path every day, you can imagine I've got a ton of stories. And the stories even that I shared a year ago are not the same stories that I'm sharing today, because I've got more interesting and more relevant and more reinforceable stories that drive the point home to the salespeople. And when I'm able to share this, they realize I'm one of them. Now, not only have I worked in outside sales, been a commission-only salesperson, been a sales manager, national sales manager for several companies, but I'm also selling every day. Today, for example, I'm picking up the phone, I'm going through my list of cold calls that I have to make in the morning, and I'm applying the things that some things I wanted to test and try, some new techniques, and see what kind of results I get. Especially when we're getting voicemail so much now when we're calling people's phones, you can't ignore that, and you can't not leave a voicemail message like they used to say 5-10 years ago. You have to be able to leave voicemail messages that create interest, that either prepare for the next follow-up call that you're going to give, or that hopefully get a call back. So I found that salespeople tell me how much they appreciate my training because they realize I'm one of them and I walk this path every day and I'm in the same situation that they're in. The next thing is the delivery. Delivery of sales training is so important, and this is why I say it should be custom, not canned, like a franchise organization, because you may have certain needs in your organization and other sales or other organizations don't have those same needs with their sales team. You may be doing great on prospecting and getting in the door, your salespeople getting in the door, but they're not closing as much, or they're having to discount too much and leaving too much money on the table when they could have gotten a more profitable sale. So whatever it is, we can work towards that customizable sales training, but the delivery of it is so important because, when it comes to your salespeople, for example, they're out in the field, they're doing this all the time, and then they come in and they need to be recharged. And the sales training is one of the ways that we do that. I'm using a lot of visuals in my sales training. I'm not putting them to sleep with PowerPoint presentations, but I will occasionally use a PowerPoint presentation because I know that they're getting the auditory through me presenting. Also, I have handouts and I want them to follow along with those handouts many times. I'm also giving some graphs and some charts and giving them some images that I know are going to stick with them more than the words I'm saying. They're going to remember the visual along with that. I'm also using a ton of stories, as I mentioned already, and those stories are always remembered. And as I talk to salespeople after the training as part of the reinforcement and coaching, I'm hearing those stories repeated back. Well, remember, Nick, how you said this and you said that. When it comes to the delivery, I've noticed that with the franchise sales organizations, like there's a franchise sales organization in my area. There's one in one city about 12, 15 miles from me, and another one in another city about 20 miles from me. And I've been to both of those. Two totally different sales trainers, same organization, and completely different delivery. And so this is why you hear people say, sometimes they'll say, well, I went to that sales organization, I did their training program, and it was fantastic. And then you have another person in another city says, I did it, and it was a complete waste of time, it didn't do anything. Now, some of that might be the individual, but many times it's the delivery of the sales trainer more than it is the person that's in the audience. So in doing all this, my goal is to get engagement from the audience. I want them to internalize the training. So my delivery has been developed over years so that I can make this as effective as possible, get as much engagement from the people in the audience as possible, your salespeople. And for example, one of the things I love to do is the terrible thing that salespeople cringe when they hear is role playing. If I'm in a small group with salespeople, we're gonna get into role playing without me announcing that it's role playing, right? But many times what I'm doing in the beginning is they don't like being in a role play because they don't want to be under pressure. I'm a trained killer, right? I'm the sales trainer up here, the sales expert, and they don't. I'm not going to give them this pen and say, "Sell me this pen." That's ridiculous. But what I'll do is reverse that role and say, "Oh, okay, so your prospect says what? Oh, let me just jump into this. So I'm the salesperson, and I say to you, so I reverse the roles, and I'm the salesperson, even though they've been selling for 10 or 15 years your product or service. They're the experts in it. There's two things I'm doing here. I'm showing them, number one, that without being an expert in their product or service and all the details of it, features and benefits, all the bells and whistles and everything like that, that I can get the buyer to a decision without knowing that, but having a strong selling system. The other thing I'm doing is, if it gets into the technical realm that I can't answer questions and everything, it's great because I can flip around and everything, and they see that, and then they're going, "Oh, I could do much better than that." And so then they're prepped for the next time we want to reverse the roles, and I want to have them sell it to me, and I play the part of the prospect. Okay. So the next thing is the tactical part. Just like I said about the role playing, the tactical part of it is so important. If your salespeople don't walk away from this training with real life tactical things that they can try, both on the phone when they're trying to get that appointment with the prospect and when they're in front of the prospect, they're never going to implement it. But when I'm giving it with stories, how well it's worked and what problems it fixes and why we say it this way, what's happening is the salespeople are eager then to get out in the field and use these tactical techniques so that they can see if it works. And when it works, they're going to go, "That worked. I'm getting better results now than I was before in this area or that area. I'm not getting as many put-offs at the end of the appointment with my prospective customer." A put-off, by the way, is a maybe, think it over, or I'll get back to you. And most salespeople feel good if they end that meeting with a maybe, think it over, I'll get back to you, because at least it's not a no, right? But the reality is most buyers at that point have either decided that they're a no, but they don't want to tell you, and so they give you a maybe, think it over, or I'll get back to you to be polite. You end up wasting a lot of time chasing them. Or you didn't, as a salesperson, build enough value to exceed the price, and so what the customer thinks is that the price is up here and the value's down here, and there's just no hurry for them to buy. Would you agree that when that reverses and the value exceeds the price, that's when people buy? Okay, so I want to give them real tactical things that they can use day one when they get out into the field. And then what happens is when they get those good results, they come back to the training manuals, they come back to the program and the videos that we use for reinforcement training, and they learn more. And so they're in this constant stage of sharpening the saw and getting out in the field and using these new techniques and things. The last thing is, in this very brief video and overview, it's not meant to encompass everything, but hopefully you'll contact me so that I can talk more about it. But the results, as I said in the beginning of this, when you hire me, I really come on as a partner with your company to really deep dive into your company, your industry, your sales team. I believe that every organization is unique, just like your salespeople are unique. And that's why the sales training program has to be customized, and all these other things are important. But at the end of the day, I know the number one thing, you're running a business, the number one thing is you want to get results. You want to see an increase in the sales that are coming in week after week and month after month, quarter after quarter. And this becomes my number one goal for your company, is to get you the results and get you the increases or the target goal of what you're trying to reach with your sales team. So now, what people that I've been through the sales training with and done the program with tell me the three main benefits, they say, are the main areas where we focus on are prospecting, number one, and that's just getting in the door. How do I get face-to-face with customers when so many people say no right away? So if I can help your salespeople increase their call to appointment close ratio, okay, so if you know that if I get my salesperson in front of 4 prospective customers, then I'm going to get 1 sale out of them, or whatever the numbers are with your organization. Then what if we can get them in, if they're getting in 2 or 4 a day, what if we could double that? what if we could just increase it 50%? Your sales will go up as a result of that. So we're working on that area. That becomes, again, very tactical because I've got to learn your business and your industry so that I can help your salespeople craft something successful in several ways. We're really like the mixed martial artists of prospecting here. We don't just use one way. So we're applying those things into the prospecting area to get your salespeople more face time with their prospective customers. That's an art in itself. Then closing. This is the body of the sales training. This is the biggest part of the sales training, and it's so comprehensive I couldn't even begin to scratch the surface on here, but it's a complete selling system that goes from the beginning of the meeting to the end to get that customer through the questions that we're going to ask, through building value, and that exceeds the price of our product or service, finding pain with a prospective customer. And that's not easy to do because most prospective customers are like this and they don't feel like they want to share with a salesperson. So how do we build that bonding and rapport? How do we establish ourselves as an expert? How do we bring value to the relationship and so forth so that we get to that point of self-discovery by the prospect of whether or not this works for them and whether or not they want to buy. We get them to a decision, but it's their decision. We didn't push it on them like a typical salesperson, as everybody thinks in their mind. So that's the closing aspect. I want to close more people. I want to get less put-offs of the maybes, think it over and I'll get back to you. I want to get more definitive yeses and no's. I'm okay with a no because I'd rather get an honest no than have to keep chasing my prospect over and over again. So that's the result of working on this. I want to take your appointment to closing ratio of your sales team and I want to increase that. So those two areas right there. And then we want to work on profitability. Profitability is, again, like I said, salespeople leaving money on the table, salespeople thinking that they have to close or that they have to discount. They're using that discounting tool too much and it's becoming a crutch, and you're all familiar with that, so that they can get more sales. So we want to talk about why that happens and why that the buyer is giving that objection to price and how to overcome that. So it's not an argument. We never argue with the customer, but this is the genius of the system that gets you less. You're getting more closes without having to discount. So you're getting less discounts, but more closes in that area. So those are the three main areas that sales teams say, Nick, we see tremendous increases in these areas. There's other things too. So there's just overall sales performance. There's accountability of your sales reps that could be a problem. Accurate forecasting. I have a video about that on my page here. Recruiting, what kind of recruiting systems can you use to get good qualified salespeople, but not just qualified salespeople, but ones that fit within your organization for what the most important things that you need them to do in their role as an outside salesperson. And then just turnover. And we talk about that and what training does for that and how companies that are investing in their sales teams see less turnover because the salespeople are constantly learning new skills and increasing their income. So your turnover rate is much less. So I hope tried to make this brief as possible. This video of an overview of the 5 main reasons why you should consider me as a possible sales trainer for your sales team is enough to get you to pick up the phone or send me an email and ask me for more details. Let me talk with you about the challenges you're having with your salespeople right now and what you would like to see fixed as a result of sales training or improved as a result of sales training. And I would love to hear from you and start the conversation like that. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Bye.